Hello, Namaste, and welcome to my channel. I'm your host Nagesh Deshpande. Today, we are going to talk about inclusive leadership in agile teams beyond HR trainings. So, if you are following agile practices, but your team still feel divided, still feel unheard, and truly missing the collaboration, this episode is for you. So, as a Scrum Master or Agile coach, or even an individual contributor in Agile teams, you must watch this episode till the end. To speak on this episode, we have Abhishek Sathe. So Abhishek was previously been a speaker on Agile Exploration Hub. You can watch his previous episodes. I will link them into the description box. So without wasting much time, let's welcome Abhishek.
Hey, hi Nagesh.
Hello Abhishek, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. So as you know, guys, we record on every weekends, and new episode is published on every Monday, 8 p.m. India time. So Abhishek is currently in Mangalore and enjoying his life there. So let's heard from him about today's topic. So Abhishek, shall we start?
Yes.
Okay, so Abhishek, as we see, agile teams are still struggling, even though with the inclusion, despite of good process and all. So why do you feel the teams are still struggling?
I think when it comes to the processes that have already been in place, many a times what happens is the company, the HR, the leadership, they typically look at these processes as a check in required to achieve a certain standard or compliance, but not as something which can actually bring in the required change. The benefits that can be obtained by making sure that the company at all levels is inclusive workplace and bring in the diversity. So I think it's the perspective at which inclusion is looked at that needs to change. So because of that, I think these kind of issues still exist.
I still want to understand why agile leaders or the leadership still think inclusion is a HR activity.
Uh, I think the reason it happens is many a times inclusion is something which is driven by HR. So it is looked at one of the typical responsibilities that the HR needs to make sure happens, and leadership most often than not looks at it as something they just need to provide their support with to get it done. But I have also seen few leaders who have went beyond their regular roles, and they have made sure that inclusion or diversity is part of the overall 360-degree experience, not just for the annual mandatory training part, but right from hiring a candidate to join your company, to making sure that everyone feels heard and respected and comfortable to contribute. And then because of doing all of this, they have seen the benefits that it brings, not just at your team or your organization level, but also at your business or your customer
Right.
levels. So
Agree.
that kind of translation, when it happens, those leaders are able to actually, take it up as their responsibility instead of looking it as a mandatory or HR initiative.
Yeah. Well, can you give me some situations or some um, behaviors that makes team feel unsecured or unsafe?
I can think of a couple of examples actually. So one could be, in one of my previous projects, there was a very senior guy, but in most of his career, which started much before as compared to other team members. He had only been exclusively reporting to the male managers or seniors. And then one of the directors in the previous organization, when she joined as the technical director for the team, there was an amount of friction that that could be easily seen. But then she actually had to had one-on-one coaching conversations with that senior person to make sure that women in leadership is something which is not unheard of, although it may still be seen lesser in percentage, but it can definitely happen. And you can look beyond the gender, look beyond the percentages or the numbers, and actually look at the capabilities that a person brings in. Another example was actually related to one of the educational app that my team was building. So we were actually building a product for physically disabled people, but then
Okay.
the team members that we had, they were all fit and fine. So regardless of how much the business analyst or the customer counterpart tried to explain the challenges that people with disabilities face, and how this app could actually help those people, it was really difficult. But then it was the company did not actually go and hire a full-time person uh, with disabilities, but we actually were able to hire a contractor who would work as basically the person's job was to translate the difficulties faced by people with disabilities
Right.
in terms that the team could understand. And then that person who himself was a disabled person, he actually just went beyond the normal meetings and email stuff, and he actually conducted a workshop where he would tie up some people, or put a blindfold on some people, and then made them do certain activities, and that kind of helped the team empathetically understand about what these marginal people or people who do not have regular representation could be suffering from to a certain extent. So yeah,
Right.
these couple of examples are the ones which I have seen. And then having such kind of people, making the team diverse, and having people who have lived different kind of experiences, sometimes even can help you understand your potential customers or your clients, end users.
Right. Right. Nice experience that. Now I want to understand, like, what if um there is a lack of inclusion, how it impacts the performance of a team?
I think there is a risk of monotonous thinking or group herd thinking that will happen if a team is lacking inclusion, because there's this tendency to think from what a group thinks. So if your team is lacking inclusion, there is a good chance that almost all or most of the team members are having same backgrounds, similar experiences, similar decision making or thoughts based on which how they operate and do their day-to-day jobs. So that will lead to this lack of capacity to think from multiple point of views. And another risk that I see is even there could be some people in your teams who are not very well outspoken,
Right.
and if they don't see these platforms where they can feel comfortable and heard, then they will mostly keep on saying yes to the common group consensus. They may not feel comfortable to express themselves. So that way, even the inputs that you gather would probably stay limited to the person who speaks the most loudly or the person who always speaks and expresses themselves. So these risks definitely exist.
Yeah, yeah, truly potential. These are some of the risks that you might face. Now, coming back to psychological safety, how agile professional can create real psychological safety?
I think one of the biggest challenges that particularly people in leadership positions can try to solve is look at these patterns. You would typically find that there are cultural differences, there are behavioral differences that may come in because certain people are marginalized in some way. Certain people are less represented. They may not have similar opportunities. So looking out for these patterns and then basically giving them different opportunities to go over their fears. So that is the first thing which I feel leadership can do. And I think there is another point. The second point that comes to my mind is related to the fact that different people express themselves differently. For
Right,
example, one person may feel really comfortable in group settings. Someone may feel comfortable filling out surveys or questionnaires or writing down what they feel and what they want to express. Some people may not immediately give out their opinions, but if they get some time to think and reflect about whatever it's being discussed at the moment, then these people can come back. And then there is a fourth set of people who may feel comfortable expressing in one-on-one settings.
right,
So leadership can look out for making sure that different people get these different variety of platforms to express themselves.
right. So now we are talking about psychological safety. We need to also build the trust also. But are there any
Yeah.
mistakes that breaks the trust?
I think one of the common mistakes would be to, assume certain things, which
Right,
typically happens. Like, for example, in a meeting, if a consensus is reached, we end up assuming that, okay, this is actually group consensus, which may or may not be always true. Or, in particularly in software field, where people, initially may express their needs, their desires. I'll give you an example. Let's say, as an agile practitioner, you are running a retrospective, and at the end of the retrospective, you come up with a couple of action items to be implemented. Now, as a person in a role such as a scrum master, it is that person's responsibility to not just note down those action items, but also follow up and bring them to closure and then share the outcomes that have been achieved because of those action items. Now, if a team member or certain team members, come up with some action items one time, two times, three times in the retrospective, but they don't see the end results. That what has happened, has someone actually taken the steps and followed up on those action items? They may feel that our inputs, even though we are sharing those, are not really heard or not valued. So these kind of things can definitely break the trust.
right. Now, many organization focuses on symbolic gestures, such as campaigns or logo change or something like that. What more should they do?
I think one of the important things that I have experienced myself in my current organization is they have an ongoing forum for people representing different kind of diversity challenges. So there is a dedicated forum for women in leadership. There is a dedicated forum for people with physical disabilities, mental disabilities, for LGBT people representatives. There are active support groups which keep on doing, various kinds of activities, trainings, workshops, and even, fun activities for people. So making sure that the organizations actually have uh, various platforms available, for people who are coming from diverse backgrounds. That could be the first step which organizations can take, which will not last for a specific day or a month, and can be ongoing throughout, like 24/7, all around the year. Another thing is, oftentimes you will be surrounded with people who are allies of the
Right.
people who are, who are from these lesser represented communities that I just spoke about. Giving them a platform to express that, we are allies and we stand by the people from various different backgrounds. Giving them such kind of opportunities is another thing. One more point, which definitely would help, is about the 360-degree experience, which I spoke earlier also. That, people from various diverse backgrounds may have some different needs. So let's say a person on a wheelchair is coming to your company for giving an interview, making sure that the person doesn't have to climb stairs. A very small step, but something that can go miles in distance. So these kind of small activities to ensure that anyone in your company, right from a new joiner to someone who is exiting the company, feels included, feels valued, and respected. And I think companies typically also have, a special budget or a percentage of their profits that they need to spend on some kind of social benefit as
Right.
part of uh, as part of the CSR activities. So
CSR activity.
typically, in CSR, you would see that companies go out for planting trees, donating clothes, this and that. Uh, I'm not against these; these are definitely good, but also including causes, worthy clauses which could benefit people from these diverse backgrounds. That could be another step that organizations can take.
Right. Good. So now let's understand about the people with the different languages also. Yeah. So how can we handle the teams with have a different languages and culture barriers more efficiently or more effectively?
Uh, that actually, reminds me of one topic that I had recently understood in one of the trainings that I was going through. Uh, that training was specifically focused on building these diverse and inclusive teams and what kind of role leadership can play. And I think the cultural and language biases that you just spoke about are actually one of the first and easiest steps that people can take, particularly nowadays in the era of AI, when you have so many tools available at your disposal. You can definitely go and explore to make sure that you use them even for these kind of purposes. So, at in previous times, people used to travel much lesser. They would typically, work in the locations where they have grown up. So these kind of cultural and language barriers used to be much lesser, but now everyone, can go and work anywhere.
Right.
So uh, I think increasing diversity will be the first step to make sure that people can actually get to see various other people from different cultural backgrounds. If you don't know about, the culture and the way people think and the way they have been brought up in different cultures. That awareness itself first acts as the entry level barrier.
Right.
So increasing diversity can definitely help at least lower the guards that people have and resolve these barriers to some extent. And also, making sure of that, let's say you're working, I'm just giving an example. Let's say you're working in a South Indian company, like a company which is based maybe in Chennai or Bangalore. uh, there you may feel that a certain language group is having more representation.
Yeah.
So as a leadership position person, you can ensure that at least when there are more than two people coming together, regardless of if it's a formal occasion or an informal one, you can always initiate the conversation in a common language. For formal ways of communicating, you can make sure that language tools, translators, these are available at people's disposal. So these are some of the easy to take steps which people can take for resolving these barriers.
Nice. Yeah. Agree. Absolutely. You should have more avenues, more tools, or there are certain people who are available there to help you out on that. Now, let's talk about a little bit about accessibility. Yeah. So now, what are the some of the things that organization can do to improve the accessibility beyond the compliance? Because most of the organization I see they just doing it for compliance, to meet the compliance. But beyond that, how can they improve the accessibility?
Yeah, I think you know organizations typically rely on a lot of vendors, outside vendors, to get a lot of things done. So, when you are evaluating a outside third party vendor, if at that time itself, if you keep accessibility as one of the criteria used to select a vendor, that could be a brilliant first step. Secondly, oftentimes in your work environments, in the projects that you work, oftentimes accessibility is thought of as an afterthought. As
Right.
in, you are building a website or a app. You first do not focus on it. You first create something. Accessibility oftentimes happens. Oh no, we are not meeting this and that standard. There are these levels of guidelines. Now can we roll out a extension feature to, so that needs to change. I think in one of your previous podcasts related to testing, I had heard this, that shift left
Right.
can definitely help. So shift left, even in terms of accessibility, making sure that right from the design phase, the product or the service has accessibility guidelines met. You can always start with basics and improve on that, but then adding it as a extra thing at the end towards the development is something which should be avoided. And particularly in these times when accessibility is getting more and more stricter in even in legal terms in various countries. I think it will benefit everyone involved to give that a little bit of more priority.
Absolutely. Yes. Now, there are different type of people as we already discussed. Some people are like introvert, quiet, and then some team members are overlooked. How leaders can make sure that they are involved, they are getting participated in everywhere.
I think leaders can definitely look for opportunities for people to engage in an informal way apart from the regular meetings and calls. And when I say informal, way, I don't mean the typical team lunches and team dinners. I'm talking about, I don't know if you have noticed, but nowadays we have a lot of companies who can come into your organization. They can act as facilitators, and then they bring in a lot of different kinds of workshops and sessions. So your company can definitely look for such kind of events and sessions for people to participate beyond their regular work related stuff. Share, have shared experiences that they can go through by making use of these kind of facilitator driven workshops. These workshops will give you, two-way benefits. One is building a rapport between the team members, increasing the trust. But also, these kind of workshops will also help people to understand, how a person is apart from their job-related stuff, how a person thinks, what kind of experiences he has lived in the past. So that can be, the one of the easiest steps that an organization can take. And the second thing that I already spoke about is, different people feel comfortable to share in different styles. So
Right.
understanding different styles in which people can contribute and making sure that as much as possible, these different avenues are available for people. These are two of the easiest steps that leadership can take.
Right. Now, this is about leadership, but what about HR? How HR or hiring process make sure that they are taking care of diversity, equity, and inclusion in their process?
I think hiring serves as the entry point towards towards making your organization diverse. So I have even seen some organizations who specifically have diversity roles hirings that happens. There are platforms available outside, who can uh, partner with your organization and provide you people from different diverse backgrounds. So, going ahead and signing up with such kind of partners is another step. Uh, Actually, having even the HRs who are part of the organization, they have a certain KPIs for their annual performance related evaluation processes. So linking, diversity related hiring with their KPIs can be a easy step that can be taken by the HRs.
Okay. And then, are there any trainings to make it more effective?
Yeah, definitely. Apart from these regular trainings, there are HR specific trainings available. I have seen a few on platforms like Coursera, Udemy, but I'm sure there are many more other platforms. So yes, HR specific or hiring specific trainings do exist. Some of the times, even people who are not from HR teams, but regularly part of the hiring processes, they are involved in just making sure the profiles are fitting, scanning the resumes, actually taking the interviews. So even for such people, these trainings can definitely come in very handy.
Right. So, any advices for the leader that you would like to give to go beyond the diversity inclusion trainings? What would you do?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said, having a diverse team has got benefits not at your team and organization level, but even beyond that. As
Right.
you said, the topic about uh, how the level of trust can increase, how it can also benefit understanding your potential end users or your customers' requirements. So if the leadership team members can work to let their team members experience diversity in action by some of the steps that we just discussed or more perhaps. I think that could be a good start. And that making sure the workplace is diverse is only going to happen if there is a mindset change that
Right.
people can experience. And I think leadership people are the best ones whenever it comes to any kind of mindset change. We experience this whenever a company goes through agile transformations. More than the agile related meetings and terminology, it's the mindset change that people needs to go through. So leadership can always help with such kind of initiatives.
Nice. Very nice. Abhishek, it was great discussion. I really saw a different perspective, a different insights that we had in this discussion. Uh, from the entire audience of Agile Exploration Hub, we would like to say thank you for being such a wonderful speaker today.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a topic close to my heart, and I'm glad that I got to speak about it with you.
So, to my audience, if you really enjoyed this discussion, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.